Welcome back. It was the longest penalty shootout in any UEFA final. 21 penalties all in. Sadly for Manchester United, they missed the 22nd. A disappointing night for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his team, but absolute delight for Villarreal. Congratulations to them. And there you go, the winners of the 2020-2021 UEFA Europa League, Villarreal. Right, well, let's start the conversation then straight away, where this leaves Manchester United, because in many ways, it leaves them in exactly the same place. It leaves them with Champions League football next season and time to move on and carry on building. But then in other ways, it feels like such a significant evening. It's another opportunity missed.
Yeah, listen, if you're looking at it as a whole as the season, they've improved from where they were last season. Or you can see that the trajectory is going in the right direction slowly but surely. This was an opportunity to form part of a winning culture at the football club. And that was the acid test tonight. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his team failed. You have to put it bluntly, it's a fact. You're trying to create a winning culture. You're trying to create an environment where you can see the players are becoming that unit and that team that are accustomed to playing in these situations. They didn't get the job done. You get to a final, you're there to win it, and that's it. And if you don't, to be brutal about it, it is a failure in that sense.
What did they get wrong?
I don't know. It was difficult, and it's difficult to come out of that game and give them credit. Really, they weren't very good tonight. They'll hold their hands up. The manager will hold their hands up. But overall, I think there's been progress. The thing I worry about is does losing hurt them enough? I think as a United player, when you lose games, you look at the last 3 or 4 weeks, lost games. Does it really hurt? It's almost become an accepted thing. I think from Ole's point of view, where's the demands on him? I don't think they'll be saying, look, you have to win a trophy, you're gone. He's made progress, which is progress from the last 3 or 4 years. If you go back further, clearly not, because this club expects to win trophies. Now, if it gets into the next couple of years, and he's still nothing, then, look, I think he might have a problem. But for now, I still don't think the demands are quite there on him where he has to win.
And you think that's translating onto the football field?
I think there's a lot of players it doesn't really hurt them.
Yeah.
I think there are a few that, you look at Bruno Fernandes, you look at Cavani, people who, Cavani, great experience, been at a great club. And look, they won't like it, of course they won't. But they're the ones who look to me like the proper hurt when they get beat. The others, sometimes it can look a little bit acceptable. Even from the manager, sometimes I think it looks a little bit acceptable. United have almost become a nice club that people like.
But you know, anything I would say, Ole's come in and stabilised from where it was. The club was on shaky grounds at the time. With Van Gaal, from Moyes before that, to Mourinho, the club was all over the place. No one knew quite where it was going, no direction. Whereas now he's come in and stabilised it. But then obviously there comes a time when you need to start getting silverware in the cabinet.
But when does that time come, Rio?
I thought today was the time. I thought today was now.
Everybody thought today was the day.
But I agree with what you're saying. I don't think that it was like,
you've
got to win.
It needs to come now. So do you think he should go because he didn't win silverware tonight?
No, I thought it was going to come now, but I think he's done enough now, without winning it today, to still go into the next window and the next season and carry on. But I think next season, I do believe, like you, I think the demands need to be there to win trophies because that's what this club's built on.
Where are demands coming from? That's why, you don't hear anything from the background. You don't have no communication from the owners. Clearly, we know that. We've seen that the last few weeks. You don't have any communication from the chief executive now. That's another thing it's a little bit confusing in the background because is he working until December or something, until somebody comes in.
So you're really asking questions even beyond the first team and the manager, the whole setup there, with the direction.
But Jake, that's the point, really. The biggest thing that sticks out for me from that game is, they didn't have a good game, but they lacked a bit of depth. When they needed somebody to go and change the game for them, they needed that. It felt like Ole needed somebody that he could throw on there to grab that game because Villarreal played well, but United just felt like in the past you've had somebody like an Ole Gunnar to come off the bench and get that goal like he did against Bayern Munich. Today, I don't think Ole had that on the bench today where he had somebody who could go. He played his best players. That's why he didn't make changes for a long time. And it felt like we needed somebody to come off the bench and just rescue it. And I think Ole needs that, and that's why they need to back him this summer. And that goes back to Scholes' point about above. who's in charge, who's making the decision. Because if they're going to do it now, they're second in the Premier League. They need to bat Ole and get some players in that can make the difference.
That's why they're in the position, because the squad isn't big enough. You look at Manchester City squad; they've got two teams that can win a league. I think United got 11, 12 players that are capable of winning the league, but they need more than that. You need 17, 18, especially this day and age.
Do you agree with Paul that they lack that real winning mentality, that granite vitamins and minerals that you all had when you were there?
Yeah, but they obviously do, because they can't get over the line. Semi-finals before this season, now they've got to a final, but they can't get over that line to win silverware. Listen, we know these things sometimes can take time to do, but when you're at Manchester United, you're not afforded that time normally. That's not there for people to say, I'm going to give you 3-4 years to do it. That doesn't normally happen. So they're in a position now where they need to start turning finals into actual silverware, because...
Go ahead, Reece, sorry. No, I think one of the biggest things when United, when all these guys left, you know, Edmund van der Sar, Scholes, Giggsy, Rio, everybody that was pretty much captain of his country, everybody had won stuff. You had all these leaders, and all of a sudden everybody left, and all of a sudden all the titles dried up. And they signed loads of players, but you didn't have any leaders. United have Harry Maguire, I think he's a great leader. Cavani, even though he came on a free. Bruno Fernandes, you know, got a shot of him there, leader. I think they need a couple more guys like that are kind of leaders, because there's not that many guys in that team that have the experience of actually winning. And I think you can buy players all you like, but you need to buy players that, like Bruno, that come in, like Ruben Diaz at Man City. You need to get guys that come in and make the difference to take you from being a good team to be a great team.
Is the trouble then someone getting the right person to buy the players?
100%.
The manager, he always bought players.
Ole would love to have one of them guys in his team, wouldn't he?
One of what guys?
Somebody that, like what Van Dijk did at Liverpool, what Diaz has done at City, what Bruno's done for him at United. But I still think you need guys that, like you said, live and die with winning. And I don't think that they're all good players, but I don't know if there's enough of those guys that have actually been there and done it, like Ole has, like you have, like Rio has. You know,
Can we just talk about like the experience of winning?
Sorry, one second.
Yeah.
Look, but who in that change room of Villarreal is that guy that you're talking about? Sometimes it has to come from somebody, the manager, to create that environment, to create that culture. Unai
Emery's obviously
Unai
given
Emery's
it to
gone in
the
there
boys,
and done
isn't he?
that. Do you know what I mean? So it's not all just about buying a player that's going to change it. Sometimes it's got to be the manager, or you've got to have a player within there who can start galvanising players around them and saying, right, come on this journey with me. I mean, we were fortunate enough to be in a dressing room where there was numerous people that could do that.
Yeah, we had the managers, you had players, you had everything.
Because the manager brought the right players to the club.
Exactly. It's identifying the right people.
And then when the manager went, so many players came to the club who didn't have that mentality.
But the big thing, going back to that point, the catalyst for that destabilisation of the club for me was when players like Vidic, myself, Edwin, Ryan Giggs all left in the same summer. The same window.
It was too many leaders, wasn't it?
Too many leaders go out of the change room, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there with a big void, and you fill it with players that ain't them characters, for one, ain't them type of people, and they don't know the fabric of the club. And then all of a sudden, things start to fall away. And it's not just that, but that was part of a big part of it in terms of moving forward.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Too many players were bought that were not Man United players. Well, that's gone now. That's 6-7 years down the road. David Gill going as well was a massive loss, not just the manager, not just all them great players. But now, I think Ole, as Rio said, he's rebuilding. We're getting better. Finishing second is better from where we've been. We'd still like, of course, you want to win things. It's disappointing tonight. It's really disappointing, but I think he's on the right lines, and with a few more players, he gets the right players. He gets to choose his own players, more importantly, I think. Then can we get closer to Manchester City? I don't know.
This window is massive.
Yeah.
Massive window for Man United now. The recruitment team, the owners, the CEO, the manager, that staff there, they need to go out and recruit the right players that fit the bill to take this team from getting to finals but can't get over the line to actually now finishing the job.
Yeah, but you're right, because if they would have won, that might have papered over the cracks. And maybe you don't really go out and get...
a good thing.
Whereas now you could say, Ole might say, look, we need 3 or 4. And that game, you watch that game, I mean, anybody's saying it needs somebody to come and make a difference.
Does it need to be people that have genuinely experienced winning? Not just quality players, not just players who can be versatile and play in different positions, players who've lifted a trophy.
No, it needs to be the right people, the right characters, and the people, and the good enough players that add value to this team. Like, for instance, we all talk about Van Dijk the last couple of years being the catalyst for Liverpool. What had he won in England before? He was at Southampton. They weren't fighting for titles or in Europe. It's the right character, the right people that fit your team, the right profile to then take you on and make other people around you better. It's not about coming in and being a good player necessarily sometimes. What do you add? Where do you add value elsewhere? Do you make other players better?
It's a good point. It's actually, I think United, the good thing is about United, we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years with United, and they've been a long way off at times. I actually think they're only 3 players off. I think that all they need is a centre-back, a central midfield player and a right winger. For me, that's all they need. And that, OK, it costs you a few quid, but the fact of the matter is, when you know exactly what you need, it's easier to go out and get it, whoever that's going to be. And I think if they can do that this summer, you know, whether it's Sancho or Varane or Marquinhos or Declan Rice, there's targets there that you can look at make that United team better. Because there are a lot of really good building blocks, in my opinion. They're closer than they've ever been in a long time, but all they need is back and to take the final step.